Veltro. In honor of thy name, we accept our wrongdoing and transmute our flesh in remembrance of our sins.
Jack Norman is one of the most delusional and vile men that Chris Redfield and Jill Valentine will encounter during the events of the game Resident Evil Revelations. The de facto leader of the Italian-born bioterrorist group Veltro, Norman and his followers would shoot a wave of fear across the globe when they would create the Terra Grigia Panic of 2004, releasing a deadly new virus into the floating city, killing hundreds if not thousands, and becoming the face of a new age of horror that would soon grip the world in its clutches.
They not only released a virus, but also several creatures, known as bioorganic weapons, further complicating the situation. This launched one of the worst tragedies the world has ever seen.
The story of Jack Norman as we know it begins with the creation of Veltro and its idealistic mission to rid the world of the rampant decadence of the modern age. To Veltro, the world had become tainted by the pomp and frills of technology and wealth. Society was moving beyond the natural world and into the corruption of progress. Beliefs like these, meshed with a nationalistic spirit, had begun as mere protest of international affairs, but eventually devolved into a movement of militaristic guerrilla tactics that would mark the group with the label of terrorists. Norman was a true believer of this cause, and with his charisma he would recruit dozens of fellow activists to become soldiers in his war on the future. However, while the group would see slight steps here and there, they lacked both the capital and resources to truly make their voices heard on a global scale. That is, until a mysterious benefactor named Morgan Lansdale would come knocking with an offer. Take a mysterious virus, attack the floating city of Terra Grigia, and be heralded as the vengeful messengers of humanity's degradation. Norman would be enticed by the possibilities of such an offer, but not without a healthy skepticism for the man offering it. Lansdale was the leader of the Federal Bioterrorism Commission, the most prominent name in bioterror prevention, so why was he, an American no less, offering such a deal to lowly terrorists? Regardless, the virus was real, the ships were real. Could it all be so simple? Norman would wrestle with that question, but in the end, he would come to the consensus that Lansdale's role was immaterial to Veltro's goals. However, he was no fool, and to ensure leverage in the situation, he would record their conversations in the case that Lansdale would try anything behind their backs. With a deal struck, Norman would make plans to attack Terra Grigia in 2004. Veltro forces would board 3 separate ocean liners provided by their benefactor and prepare to release both BOWs and the T-Abyss virus into the city. These plans would go off without a hitch, with Veltro going from a small-time international nuisance to a global bioterror boogeyman. Norman and his colleagues would celebrate the success, but while they cheered on the devastation, Lansdale would prepare his intended trump card.
So we've kept video records of all of our interactions. If they go public, your life is finished.
You may do as you please. Use of the satellite has been approved. The new virus will be completely eradicated.
You bastard!
While Norman had expected foul play, the detailed plans of Lansdale would entirely catch him by surprise. Not only would the FBC head release the T-Abyss virus aboard the cruise liners, but he had also gotten the clearances to destroy Terra Grigia with the use of its own solar satellite system. A blast which would have a knock-on effect of sinking the Queen Dido, the ship which housed the bulk of Veltro's forces and Jack Norman himself. To no avail, Norman would attempt to use his hand to sway Lansdale, but it was already too late. Terra Grigia would be destroyed, dragging the nearby Queen Dido to the depths with it. However, while Lansdale would assume his biggest threat to have vanished in the blinding light of the satellite, somehow Norman and a contingent of his followers would survive, left to rot below the still smoldering ashes of the city they destroyed. For nearly a year, Norman and the survivors would exist within a hell of their own making. Brothers and sisters of the cause, slowly taken by the ever-mutating beasts that now roamed the Dido's narrow halls. Despite these dire circumstances, though, the fires of hate would continue to burn for the man who'd exiled them to the depths. In the pit of the ship, Norman and his faithful would curse Lansdale and his flunkies in the FBC, wishing for an opportunity to strike back, and eventually they would get it. On the surface, Lansdale's involvement in the Terra Grigia panic was being dragged into the light, and with it would come renewed interest in the Dido and the secrets within. FBC agents would be sent down to investigate what they'd assumed to be a graveyard, but would instead find the devil himself, still alive and growing ever more deranged and deadly by the minute. Jack Norman is the most disturbed and dangerous man that you'll find in the sunken, dead hulls of the Queen Dido. A delusional idealist who believes that the world needs to be reshaped to his specifications, Norman would use his silver tongue to draw the fanatical masses into a terroristic flock. Together with his devout, they would kill thousands in pursuit of their goals, and for that headlong fervor, they would suffer a terrible fate. Trapped thousands of feet below the corpses of their victims, with only hate to fuel their prolonged purgatory.
Done. Everything's finished. Finally, I can die. I can die.